And we are live. Hi, everyone.
Woo!
Welcome back to Moms for Trans Kids podcast. I've missed all of y'all. Hey,
Oh, we missed
Ellen.
you.
Hey, Kimmy. What's going on?
Hey, Dr. Lulu. Oh my gosh, so much is going on. I'm excited about all of the things that you've been doing. And I'm excited about the conference coming up in Atlanta, Parents to Parents. So it's a lot, so much to talk about to help our
Yeah.
queer families and our transgender children. So I'm excited.
Yes. What about you, Kimmy? How have you been?
Oh, just been crazy, just keep trying to keep up with work and the kids and everything, still moving, unpacking, trying to sell houses, getting them ready to sell anyway.
Mm.
But, tomorrow is my birthday. I'm going to be
Woo!
53. And for my birthday, I wanted to, as I always do, but for this year especially, I wanted to give back, of course, to the Trevor Project. So, Facebook fundraiser going on. I kicked it off with donating $53 for every year that I've been alive.
Yay!
So, yeah, hopefully starting the trend. Some people started following suit, so I couldn't be happier. So,
This is so beautiful. So, first of all, I wanted to say to all our new listeners, welcome. We got a lot of new subscribers on YouTube as a result of Nico and Raquel's episode. That got like 200 and something views at this point. So, really, really good.
okay.
So, thank you to all our new followers. Welcome. Everyone who comments on Instagram, there's usually a lot of activity on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming. We want to tell you that we have our own Moms for Trans Kids Instagram account, and we're going to probably start asking y'all to go over there and like us and follow us and all the things. But just so you know, we are regular, normal parents. We're regular, normal moms. We have lives, and we can actually catch up with our lives, and that's what's happening. You know, Kim is a normal human being. Just because you hear our voices doesn't mean we don't have lives. Kim has been moving. Kim has a birthday. Ellen is Ellen, you were so busy last week with the coaching of the teachers. I mean, we have realized, and I just got back 1 hour ago, barely, from the airport from Ohio. So we have a lot to talk about. And I see our guest is here. So I'm going
Yes.
to let the guest
Yay.
in.
Dr. Udom, did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
Hi,
Hi.
Dr. Udom.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Good to see
Good.
you.
Are you
I'm
able
trying to
to
get.
increase your volume a little bit? This is why we like to start a little bit early. Can you maybe just bump it up a little? Just a
Is
little.
that too loud?
No, 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 up. We wanted it to go up so that it's not too. It sounded like it was kind of distant. Maybe that was me, but yeah,
It's all.
it's
Yeah.
all the way up. Okay, no problem. Okay, welcome,
Is that better?
welcome. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Much better,
Okay, cool.
much better. All right, everyone. So we have a guest after all, but we're going to do a quick catch up regardless because we wanted to just kind of catch up on how everyone is doing. A lot of times we just jump into the show and start talking serious stuff, and we don't always stop to catch up with how we're doing. So we're going to start dedicating the first quarter to how fuck everyone is doing.
Thank
Ellen,
you.
you kick it off because you're letter E. Go ahead.
You
How are
know,
you doing? Really?
I'm doing fantastic. I constantly am just, and I'm so Dr. Udom is here to talk about health and wellness and self-love and self-care. But I have no complaints. I'm constantly just showing the universe how grateful I am and showing so much gratitude, and I'm healthy, my son is healthy. You know, I'm just holding on to all the positivity.
I am trying to figure out if my guest is driving
No, I'm not driving. I'm
because
not driving.
okay, because I will literally.
I know. My Mama Beast would come out for sure, for sure. I'm not
Yes,
gonna
I
let
was
that
just like,
happen.
I know they're not driving because I will literally kick you out of that car. Okay, good. I feel better. Just because optics matter. Someone's gonna say, well, 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 because they come for us. They come for
Oh,
us all
yeah,
the
they
time.
do.
Oh my God, they come for us. On last week's episode, did you see all the vitriol? I just left the comment. I left them on there.
Mhm.
All kinds of hateful comments
Yeah.
last week. Yes.
Yeah.
I
they're
didn't even look.
people.
I don't care.
I know, I know. I care because I don't care about what they're saying, but I care because I want to leave the comments there. And I always want to go and respond to the ones that are positive because some people actually, are positive. The last time we had an episode about someone who had been unlived out of transphobia, one of their best friends came on the podcast and made a
I
comment.
did reply to that one.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you just never know. Yeah. So welcome, Dr. Udom. So Dr. Udom, you are actually I'll go with you after Kim because Kim is alphabetically, Kim is next. So Kimmy,
Mhm.
how are you doing? How's your week? I mean, quick updates.
I'm still doing the girl boss thing at work, full time. I'm trying to put in some extra hours because they've been super flexible with me, which I really appreciate. Lots of appointments for my youngest, going through a lot of mental health and physical health issues and balancing all those appointments with my own self too is a challenge. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's been rainbows and unicorns all week, but I have been focusing as well on gratitude and mindfulness. In times of stress like this, it's so important to ground yourself and just be mindful of where you're at and what's important all the time.
Yeah. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who's watching us on Instagram right now, on LinkedIn, on the YouTube channel. If you have any questions, please type your questions. We are here to talk about momming trans kids, being human beings, regular human beings who have lives, who feel pain, who go through joy, who go through struggles. Like Kimmy has a child who has struggled with mental health challenges. So we're not just like perfect moms. We're all like working this every single day. And we have a guest today who's going to talk about well-beings and mental health and how to maybe remember to take a minute to take care of ourselves the best ways that we can. So welcome to our guest, Dr. Udom. How are you doing? Welcome.
Thank you. You were speaking about grounding. I was like, that's what I'm trying to get grounded right now. I'm at a park. I was like, I wanted to get to the park. Because that is one of the only places that grounds me nowadays. I don't know if I shared this with you, Dr. Lulu, but for 30 plus years, I was very, very isolated from my dad's side of the family. And they are Anang, which is a clan in the Ibibio tribe of Nigeria. And we're tree people and animists. And, I'm growing up, living this life and not doing the things that, innately like rejuvenate me and recharge me. And so in this season, specifically fall, today's fall equinox, if you didn't know, this
Yes.
is my season. Like I was born in November, I'm a November baby, and just I can be outside, and I love scarves, and I love hats and cozy things. So this is the time where I'm walking outside. This is the time where I'm dressing in the most comfortable and coziest, and all of those things bring me joy when like life gets very, very hard. And it's been a roller coaster all summer, so I'm ready for the slowdown.
Yeah. So for y'all that don't know, Dr. Udom is officially the very first Nigerian guest we've ever had, real Nigerian guest we've ever had. I think born in Nigeria, raised in the US, but still Nigerian nonetheless. And we could tell our story about how we met. Dr. Udom, I think because you're walking around, you're kind of coming in and out, and you're freezing. So I'm not sure if anybody else is experiencing that. So maybe if you can find a nice cozy spot to sit, just because you're moving around and your sound, your audio is coming in and out. But Dr. Udom and I met earlier in the year in February at believe it or not, of all the places for Dr. Lulu to meet someone, a Christian event and in a church, which for those of you who know me, I haven't been to church in 5 years. But I figured that I want to serve people who look like me. And one of the places that people who look like me hang out is in churches. So I'm not too big to go to where the people are. As a matter of fact, in the Act of the Apostles, for those who read the Bible, the message that was given to the apostles was, go ye forth. Jesus asked them to go to where the people are. And if they receive you, be welcome. If they don't receive you, dust your feet and leave. So one of the things that I do is try to go to where the people are. I just came back today from Ohio from another religious conference. Believe it or not, the person who invited me to that conference, we met at the same event that I met Dr. Udim at. So it's kind of a full circle moment. Dr. Katrina Marsh, uh, Roseboro Marsh, is the pastor of the United Church of Christ Coalition. It's a LGBTQ plus coalition from this United Church of Christ people. Anyway, but the bottom line is, it was beautiful being amongst queer people who were worshiping God their own way. I mean, all of us had the same thing in common: church trauma, right? So it was like I didn't have to sell it to anyone. They all understood what it's like to be hurt by a group of people who think that they're the only ones that own God, or that God made a mistake with you, and all these things. So there was this big poster, giant poster called Dear Church. People were just writing all the things. When I said, I am not a mistake. And I just thought that one just stood out to me. I'm not a mistake. It was a trans person that wrote that. Because people want to make you believe that you're a mistake or something like that, or that they own God alone. So it was just an interesting experience for me. So Dr. Udim, thank you so much for coming. And we lost her. We lost them.
No,
Okay, welcome back. We lost you for a second. You're here? Can you hear us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Very good. Yes, we can. So the show is called Moms, the number 4 Trans Kids. Welcome so much to everyone. One of the things I want us to talk about today is being non-binary and being Black and also being Nigerian. For me, I feel like when my child said they were non-binary, I was like, what the fuck is that? Y'all know I said that. And then I now found out later on that that was her conduit into saying I'm transgender. But even today, her pronouns are she, they. So she says sometimes she feels like a binary female and sometimes she doesn't. And that's just the beauty. And my child is Nigerian. So I'm so happy to be talking to another person who's probably going to give us a little bit of insight into what it really is to be non-binary, because I don't have non-binary experience. And so I'm really happy to have this conversation. And also throw in self-care, mental health, because Dr. Udim is a psychologist. Are you a psychologist or psychotherapist? What are you? I know you're a PhD in something.
I am. My first doctor is in physical therapy, and then my second doctor is in education. And I'm an Indigenous medicine practitioner. So I study Indigenous medicine from the entire gambit, from where I'm from Asia, from Germany, from everywhere, whatever feels called to my spirit. So, yep.
Wow. And I know Ellen, I know you don't know Ellen, but Ellen is also in education. So Ellen, meet your friend, education people. So where do y'all want to start, people? Where do y'all want to start? Who wants to ask questions? Let me see what's happening on Instagram. I, for one, want to know, I just want, if you can. Okay, so somebody here says, I am Ian Ham Mike says, that is where I met Dr. Lulu. I attended 2 of your sessions. Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Mike. Okay. Thank you so much for talking about all the events in Ohio. But yeah, if y'all have any questions for our guests today, their pronouns are they, them, and it. They are in the spiritual healing space. They do a lot of things. I think, Dr. Udim, you should tell us a little bit about the things that you do, because you do open mic, and I learned that from you, and I'm about to become a host for open mic here in Atlanta, and you do a bunch of other things. So tell us a little bit about the things that you do, and then people can ask you questions. Please ask us any kind of questions that you have whatsoever. All right, go.
All the things that I do. So I am a dancer. That was the first thing I knew about myself, creativity wise. And that was solely because I traveled from Nigeria to the US when I was 3. And in order to find family or connection, we joined like churches and the Kwaibom State Association, which is like our refugee camp, essentially, from Nigeria to US when you're immigrating here. And we danced our traditional dance for weddings and birthdays and parties and things like that. So always been a dancer. But then I moved to Indiana, and it was in Indiana when I needed more ways to release things that were coming up that I didn't necessarily have the words for, or my parents didn't have the words for. And so still dancing, but I joined the Urban League, and there I also started writing poetry. That's kind of, let's see, elementary school, middle school. I started noticing, or my parents started noticing, that when emotions would get too big, I just would become nonverbal. So I was a selective mute growing up, and I would write. And so writing and poetry and things like that would be a way for me to find healing and respite when all the other shit didn't make sense. So I'm a writer, I'm a dancer, and I also do canvas work and stippling and pointillism, and graffiti are my current mediums. So that's how I creatively
And this is so true
heal
about most
myself.
queer people. Yeah, most queer people are very, very creative. I love the gravity part. I mean, oh my goodness. I love that you cuss too. Hello, this is so beautiful. Welcome home.
All the
We
real
cuss
people
here.
do.
All right,
Yeah.
so maybe the last time we had Kimmy, do you remember when we had David Shans on the show? David gave us poetry, read a nice, beautiful poem for us. Kimmy, were you here then?
I think so. I mean, I've heard a couple of, like the spoken word. I remember
Yeah,
a couple.
well, I don't know. I wonder if Dr. Udim will have a poem for us today as we
Oh,
walk
that'd
into
be
the end
cool.
of the show. David wrote a beautiful poem for us and read the poem for us.
Oh,
It was
yeah, I
so
do
beautiful,
remember.
it was
Yes.
so nice. So I'm putting you on the spot, I know, but hey, a girl can ask and then we'll take it from there. So, what questions do y'all have? My question is, as a Nigerian growing up in America with very traditional Nigerian Christian parents, how did you communicate your gender identity? When did you communicate that? And how did your parents receive that? If you don't mind my asking.
Loaded question, because I'm like, have they even that? I think
Hmm.
when I came out, like, officially to my mom, it wasn't until after I did going to therapy, started, and specifically the advertising business to the associations that we have, parties or whatever. Look, I'm in the ad, and I was like, okay, cool. And she
Dr.
at my
Udim, we
link
can't,
tree.
Dr. Udim, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up. We can't hear anything you're
Can you
saying.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you when you stop moving, but when you're moving around, we're just hearing like every third word.
Let me get to my. There's everybody. Mama wants to be out here at the park today. Of course, it's great. It's fall. So I'm gonna go back and be by this.
Okay, so while our guest goes back to their car, just really quickly, I want you all to know that I am so proud of the governor of Kentucky. So if you have not heard yet, the governor of Kentucky did what? Banned conversion therapy. Thank you so much, Democratic governor of Kentucky. This is what we're talking about. Kimmy and Ellen, have y'all had any experience with conversion therapy? Do you know anyone that's experienced it? I know my friend, my dear friend, Jeremy, is a product of attempted conversion therapy. And let me tell you, my beautiful friend is completely like hurt to say the very
Broken.
least from,
Yeah,
yes.
it's hard. Yeah.
Yes. So we want to give a big shout out and flowers. As a matter of fact, I have an idea, Ellen Craig. That thing you were drinking out of, I want to send one to the governor. Yes.
And kids.
I'm going to send one to
Hey,
the governor.
get one for mine too, okay?
Well, your governor is amazing. The governor of Michigan. We love our Gretchen. Yes. So we're going to be sending you merch because, I mean, it's time. That would be so cool. Just to say thank you for, and it's going to be like, well, who are these people? And then boom, we're famous. All right. So we want to give a big shout out to Ellen for creating a mug. Ellen, show the people your mug. Says Moms for Trans Kids. Yes. So beautiful. Dr. Udim, can you hear us? You're frozen. We're trying to buy time.
There
Can
we
you
go.
hear? Can you see me wiggling?
Yeah,
Good. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so if you want to, I was just buying time. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that little story, I heard you say something about have they really, and then you were kind of going in and out.
Yeah, because I came out to my mom last year. Because before I was just of the notion that I don't need to come out. I was like, I'm just going to continue to be myself and do the thing. And then people started asking me questions as I was, like slowly showing who my true self to my friends. They're like, one friend in particular, it was triggering and activating the question that she asked. But she was like, "Why do you feel the need why do queer people feel the need to tell people that they're queer? And then I had another friend who said, can you still be queer and Christian? Or how do you reconcile with still claiming Christianity and being queer, right? And this is coming from a non-queer person, and I had the same question coming from a queer person. So I've been grappling with all of these questions for the last couple of years. But when I told my mom specifically, like I said, it was because she was trying to advertise my business, and she saw the word queer healer in my profile, and she was like, queer people, homosexuals have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. Why do you feel like you need to say that you are that thing? And in that moment, I knew, I was like, this is exactly why I need to say that thing. I was like, because there's so many other Nigerian little boys, girls, and in between walking around knowing that this thing is, in them, or that this is who they are. And they have no mirrors and no examples or mentors in front of them that can guide them, so that, I'm saying, they're not walking throughout their entire life suicidal, right? Because they're like, oh, the world tells me that I am bad, or I'm witchcraft, or I'm going to hell. And how do I get up out of bed every morning knowing that I am this thing that they say that I am, and they don't think I deserve to live? So it's been like a slow coming into, but recently my mom she's gone through to therapy through me, and she's like started to name her queerness, because my mom is very powerful spiritual woman. She's clairvoyant, so through ancestors and talking to family and friends, I've started to learn more about her, and I realized that she always knew who I was. And so by me standing in my truth and in my power, she now is more confident to stand true and in her power too. So it's been super healing.
Of my life. Yes, this is the story of my life. This is what I talk about all the time. And whether they like it or not, the most intense homophobes are in the closet. Did y'all hear about the person who's running for governor in North Carolina?
Yes.
Was out on CNN. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It always happens.
Yeah.
The more intense they are, the more deep they are in the closet. I know for me, I was already out, but my child owning her own gender identity made me even that much more out. It's like, hello. But thank you so much for sharing that. I can only imagine what it's like for your mother, and just the thoughts going through her head, the emotions. Oh, we lost them again. Oh my God. Okay, they're back. Just the emotions going through their head. I don't know their gender identity, but the emotions going through her head until we know. And just you also, and just that moment trying to reconcile the one with the other. Let me tell you something. I went to London for Black UK Pride last month, and every third person out of 4,000 people was Nigerian. Every third person at the event. They are queer Nigerians, people. Matter of fact, today, when I got back from the airport, I was like, what can I do in an hour? I decided to call a friend of mine. I said, I want to start a Nigeria support group for queer folks in Atlanta, because I know that they are here, they're out here, and I need to meet them in Atlanta. I just said that if I'm going to be carrying the flag, which did y'all hear that I'm going to be carrying the flag?
Congrats, that's so exciting.
Hello.
That's so cool.
Yes. So if I'm going to be the face of queerness, Nigerian queerness in Atlanta and America, can we start a support group? Yes, we shall. So I'm like, let me start knowing who are my people, because they're here, hiding in the shadows, hiding in the dark. So thank you so much for wanting to hold space for the little, like you said, little boys and girls and in between. Such a beautiful way to put it. All right, Ellen and Kim, when I'm talking to my people, y'all need to say something, because oh my God, I'm so excited.
Well, to your point, Dr. Udom, I think that people don't realize that queer people may not have to reveal that they're queer people. If there was a space, if there was a societal space that respected everybody as human beings. So, when there's a duality that we have, all of us have, and that it's appreciated or it's respected, then maybe one day queer people won't have to say, who they are, or to maybe announce, if you will. I kind of equate it to people that are multi-raced. There's one side of who you are, and there's another side of who you are. And so to not recognize or denounce one side takes away from your whole existence, if you will, or your total existence. So, if there was this world that we lived in, where people just kind of moved about their day, and they didn't put up on so much hatred and towards queer community or trans people or what have you, we may not have to ever say, because we're treated like human beings, and we know that that's not the case, unfortunately. And as Dr. Lulu mentioned, the Republican Mark Robinson, I think that's his name. Here's a person that's talking about the transgender community, and that is the one thing, allegedly, that is the one thing that he is finding himself most attractive to, and speaking the most hate towards. So it's just so many layers, and I think that people go into assumptions that there is only one gender that you are supposed to be connected with or partnered with, or kind of identify in a place of comfort and unity. And so when those things are lifted, then maybe one day, but until then, we have to make sure that, like you said, that there are other little boys and little girls and teenagers and young adults who feel like they're represented, who feel like they're seen, and who we can pass along the baton to.
Yes, absolutely. What about you, Kimmy? Any thoughts for our beautiful, amazing, just human guest today? We can barely see your beautiful face. Oh my God.
I know. I got a headband on. I'm not bald, but
Oh no,
and
not
then Dr.
no.
Udom,
Actually, I'm thinking,
I know.
I'm thinking about, but I know they have their
Can you
light
see
on. I
me?
was thinking about no, Kimmy, we can see you now, but
Dr.
we can
Udom,
barely see
thank
you
you
on
so
here.
much
Yeah, yeah.
again for joining us today. And I love that we're having a discussion with non-binary human that exists in the world, that has always existed in the world, but only recently started, associating themselves with these labels. And how has that changed your life? I mean, do you think it has made any kind of impact in one area or another?
All the areas, in short.
But,
Literally
but,
all of them.
but in a positive light?
Oh yes. So everything stems back to being cut off from my dad's side of the patriarchy of my family. So they outwardly were spiritual folks where we're from, and also growing up Christian, they say we can't hang out with these folks, right? And those folks just happen to be my family. And so not only am I an immigrant, right, we're coming from Nigeria to the US and being told to assimilate, but I also don't know a whole other lineage and tradition. And the way I understand my non-binaryism to be, it's not has nothing to do with sexuality, even though a lot of people equate that oftentimes only with that. But for Ibibio people specifically of the Anang tribe, we have Imbia Itiang, right? Trans folks, shamans, priestess, healers are often people who are in between, and because they're in between because we channel different ancestors, whether that's tree or animal or man or woman. And so my they, them, it is not because I choose not to be a she. I am all of the things, right?
Mm.
But I've been she all my life. All y'all know is the she, but now like I'm channeling everything. And so when that comes up, and if you know, right? If you can call and say, oh yeah, there's little 7-year-old so-and-so that you're channeling, or there's my auntie that you're channeling, or my uncle that you're channeling, call me by my name, because that's who I am. I'm NBA. That's what these different categories that I keep hearing about are called now. But where I'm from, it's one thing. We are
Yeah.
and so
Beautiful.
it is impacted like personal, professional, spiritual, mental health, like knowing who I am, calling a spade. I can show up as myself. I can show up myself. I can find my people. If I can find my people, I can find my love. I can find my tribe, and then I can heal the fucking world, which I'm supposed to do in community. And so none of that would have been possible if I hadn't figured out who I was, where I came from, and then acknowledged it and make asked people very nicely and respectfully to call me who I am, which is Dr. Udom. It's not because, I have these degrees, yes, but no, in my lineage, in my tribe, that is who I am,
I love
Dr.
it. I
Udom.
love it. So here's the thing about that, and I talk about this all the time when in the context of today's modern LGBTQIAP 2 plus, right? IAOP, all of that, the two S part. I talk about that all the time. That in Africa we have had duality of gender forever. But if you ask anyone about 2S, they strictly talk about indigenous people in the West, indigenous people in Canada, in America, and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. But Africans specifically have always, and I almost want to feel sorry for my ancestors who had to deal with the fact that, well, we know that we have all these things, and then these people came with their religion, and then we need to accept it. We could have also not accepted. Of course, they came with their guns and they killed you if you didn't accept, right? Which on its own is a problem because Jesus was not a violent person, but hey, what do I know? And but it's just interesting to acknowledge that we have always had duality of gender. I reincarnated this woman that everybody, when her kids older than me, when they see me, they fall on the ground and prostrate because I'm like their mother. I'm like, huh? I didn't understand that. But we've always had that kind of thing. So I am just so happy to talking to someone who at least can help us scratch the surface about the fact that Africans also have multiplicity actually of genders, multiplicity. And of course, the people who came with Western religion came and called it witchcraft, right? They came and called it voodoo. They came and gave it were heathens and called it negative energy names. But they were sages, they were the teachers, they were the ones we went to, they were the healers. My grandfather never went to medical school for one day, but he had an orthopedic hospital where people that had the fractured bones and the hospitalists that were going to amputate, they would come to my grandfather and they'll walk out of there. So I mean, this is not something that is new, but they don't want you to know that. They'll ban the books first before they let you know that. So thank you all so much for just this is a beautiful conversation. I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about mental health because this is kind of what you do more. We had a mom, or rather, I had a mom on a Facebook in a Facebook group whose child is transgender and has been diagnosed with multiple mental health diagnoses. And the mom's concern, even though the child is 23, the mom's concern is, yeah, but I'm wondering if he's not sure he's trans because he's also bipolar and he's also this and also that. Forgetting that people can have mental health diagnoses all day and not be trans. And then I had to tell her, I said, ma'am, your child being trans, what if you allow your child to have the cross hormone therapy, which is what the kid is asking for at 23? What if that will actually make the child feel better from most, if not all, of what they're struggling with? I don't know what it's like to be stuck in a body that just when I look in the mirror, I feel like I'm outside the body. But I told her, I said, recently in November, I cut my hair, cut all of my hair. And now I know what it's like to have some degree, a minor degree of gender dysphoria every time I look at myself with the new haircut because I miss my hair because I had long locks. So I have a tiny little bit of an idea of what it feels like to have gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria doesn't only occur in trans people or people of gender diverse who are gender diverse. When I was 11 and I had breasts, I had gender dysphoria because I was like, what is this thing that hurt? People who grow very fast and get tall overnight, they have gender dysphoria because like they don't recognize their bodies. We have always had gender dysphoria. When I said that at the conference this weekend, people were like, I said, yes, I have to, because I do this work, I have to find ways to normalize gender dysphoria. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Dr. Udim, what are your thoughts about this, about my thoughts? And then of course, what would you say to this mom who's suffering as far as I'm concerned because her 23-year-old child is transgender?
It's so funny that you're talking about gender dysphoria because, yes, same. A lot of people, more people actually suffer from gender dysphoria than they think about it as. And they often conflate it with or mask it with body dysmorphia, right? So
Yes.
those two are often
Mhm.
seen or diagnosed similarly. Um, and I'm laughing because I have been well over 270 plus pounds twice in my life and then have lost the weight. And during that time, I was very heavily masking who I was. I was in grad school both times, also with a toxic ex at the time. But right, the having to hide who I was, I used food as a coping mechanism, and was just able to, I thought, disappear in that way, right? Um,
Mm.
and it wasn't until, like I said, that I was just like, yeah, but no, this is actually who I am, that I was able to like lose the weight and keep the weight off.
Mm.
And so I've morphed. And if you literally look at pictures of me from the last 10 years, you will see like at least 30 different people, like at
Wow.
least 30 different people. Like, every time I look at pictures, I'm like, who is this person? And who is this person? Who is this? Each of them me. Some looking more masculine, some looking more feminine, and it is not the same. But those who have suffered from body dysmorphia oftentimes also are occurring or at the same time having gender dysmorphia, right? So the way I present now, it's interesting. I'm smaller now, but I'm more masculine now. And when I was heavier, I guess it was the clothes that were easier to mask the weight. So I was more feminine looking when I was 300 plus pounds. There is a difference, but the empathy part is the thing that I'm making a note of, right? So if you have suffered from body dysmorphia, you can, right,
Mhm.
find some empathy, or you should. If not, you're
You
just,
should,
whatever you
yes.
are.
You
People
know
who
what
have
it's like?
gender
It's like
dysmorphia,
black people. Dr.
and
Wilson,
that's fine.
Dr. Wilson,
Yeah.
1 second. 1 second.
Hmm.
It's like black people in America. I say this every day. You know what it's like to be the underdog. You know what it's like to live in a country where you are less than, where you are 1/8 of a man. You know what that's like. So when you are also homophobic, I wonder about you. Speaking to myself, of course, right? So you're right. But we're calling it, we're naming it. When I woke up like at 3 o'clock that morning, I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm having. That's what I'm having. Dysphoria. Like, I don't like this hair. Okay, I know people think it looks good, but it's not me. That's what your child is going through. And imagine that for a long, I can grow my hair back. I can put on a wig. I can look like, myself if I wanted to, but they cannot. It was just, I was like, wow. When it hit me, I was like, oh, wow, that's a tiny bit. And then when I said that, this other lady said this. She said, "Oh my God, I have lost a lot of weight, and every time I pass the mirror, I don't recognize myself. I feel like I miss my body." So you're right. There's a very close relationship between dysmorphia and dysphoria, but they're not the same. One of them, you're actually like in pain, and you just don't like it, which is my hair. Every time I look in the mirror, the other is like, yeah, this body kind of feels strange. But I can get used to it. Dysphoria, you can't because you're not in a body that affirms you.
Mhm.
That is the difference.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that. Go ahead.
And I think a lot of, to your point, to both of your point, I think a lot of women, let's talk about the cis hetero females who have birth children go through this change. And then there's this part of that is a catapult to often to postpartum depression and all of those things. So, just in that space alone, um, I have a son who's 22, and ever since I've had him, my body has not been. I've had to live in a different shell, and that's taken some time for me to accept that. Um, and it's also taken some time for the people outside of me to normalize that it's okay to have gained a little weight. It's okay to have the stretch marks. It's okay. what we see in society is that you have to look a certain way, have a certain body, you have to kind of fix what are the mommy makeovers, if you will. um,
Mm-hmm.
and so it pushes you into this space of where there is some onset of anxiety or depression, because you have people viewing you in a way where there's not acceptance. And that is exactly what either our queer or trans community, trans adults go through. It's the lack of acceptance because they're viewing them to a way and holding this measure of what they should and should not look like. I said it in our last podcast that oftentimes when there is so much hatred towards trans women, people don't realize how that is connected to creating this unsafe space for cis hetero females, black females, because now you're moving into a, well, you don't look like this, so now your life is at risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people, you look at some of our WNBA players who we talk about duality, right? Who embrace their more masculine side, they embrace all of who they are, the duality of who they are. And they are often the ones that are the most heavily judged. um, they're the ones that are the most shamed the most, when they don't fall into this ideology of what a quote unquote cis hetero or a what a woman, if you will, should look like. So I think that there's just a lot of crossover and a lot of intersectionality that happens with that. And Dr. Udom, it was really good to hear you mention about your weight gain and your weight loss, and how that, just that one thing, just how that affects us, let alone talking about, just the trans community.
Yeah. Now I want to take a moment and recognize Fry Dr. Heiss. I'm trying to say the name correctly on Instagram, who says it's also easy to confuse gender dysphoria as body dysmorphia when you first start to notice it, especially if you grow up in a very culturally isolated area with no education on gender differences. And then they went on to say, that happened to me. So thank you so much for sharing this. The more we talk, as you know, this is why we talk about. This is why we do the show, normalizing experiences, making everybody realize that you're not alone, or me too, right? It also happened to me, and you're not alone. So thank you so much, Fry Dr. Heiss. Okay, hopefully I said the name correctly.
So,
Um,
Dr. Lulu, if this is for either you or Dr. Udom. Can you, for our viewers, give the exact definition for both words? So, um, gender dysphoria and body dysmorphia.
yes.
Can you speak to those, please, so that our viewers know the proper terminology?
Okay, so body dysmorphia, believe it or not, is just a condition where a person spends a lot of time worrying about the flaws in their appearances. Like, oh my God, my lips are too thin, or my lips are too big, or my body is too fat, or my toes are too short, or and that can, as you can imagine, that can cause you to either become anoretic or depressed, right? As opposed to dysphoria, where it's like, I don't, this body is not mine. Like, the best example, obviously, is a transgender person. This body is not mine. I This body does not affirm me. So for me, I have dysphoria because my hair, I feel I'm a boy, and I'm not. I'm a girly girl. My gender identity is pure girl all day, and so every time I look in the mirror, I see a boy. So I want people to understand that that's what gender dysphoria is. When your child is assigned a particular gender at birth, and then they look in the mirror and they see a different gender when they know in their head this is the gender that they are. That's what I'm going through every time I look at myself. I like it, and I'm trying my best to be okay with it. And people are like, oh, we love your hair. But every time I look, I see a different gender person. So for me, it's dysphoric. Now, of course, I can grow my hair back. Again, I want to say, for me, it's not like someone who is trans, because I can easily grow my hair back. Dysmorphia is what people like, maybe, I'm going to use an example, maybe Karen Carpenter is popular for dying of anorexia because every time she looked in the mirror, she still saw someone who's overweight.
Mhm.
So she just could not reconcile it. And then she basically starved herself to death, if I can even say that, because that's what anorexia nervosa is. People who just refuse to eat because they just see there for other reasons. There are multiple reasons that make people do that. A lot of times it's about control. My office manager was a little bit overweight, true, but her mother was so controlling, she just stopped eating.
Mm.
She just stopped eating because she just and I don't know if Dr. Udin wants to join here and say something about when you had the selective mutism. Could you tell us a little bit? Was that similar? Was that kind of what caused that to happen? But anyway, that's my thought on BDD.
Um, thank you for sharing all of that. I wanted to offer like an alternate perspective, or at least like my story. So you sound like a lot of my aunties, and so it was very. I grew up listening or hearing "Fatty Bum Bum" all the time, right? Like if I had
Oh
gained like an extra like
yes!
10, 15 pounds, walk into a room, aunties like
Oh
"Fatty
my
Bum Bum,"
God!
or just like pinch your
Yes!
stomach or pinch your butt. And when you're a kid or in them formative years, when you're still trying to decide if you like how you look, when you hear those opinions or those catcall, whatever you want to call them from your family, you're going to start to internalize those things. And so when I was heavier, I heard that a lot. And so I was like, okay, obviously being this weight is bad, but that didn't mean that I wasn't active, that I didn't work out, didn't go to the gym, all of those things. I guess my anorexia looked different because I think a lot of people don't talk about athletes a lot, because a lot of athletes also suffer from body dysmorphia, right? Like
Yes, because they have
they
to
think that they look horrible and that they
yes.
must go to the gym and keep going and look a certain way. I got an 8-pack, but I want me a 10-pack, right? Like, and something in there, and I'm saying there, and I was, and still sometimes, right, have those kind of like, if I don't work out for a week, what's gonna happen, and also like when I go shopping, sometimes I'll still go and I'll pick like an extra large, and then if I have a friend with me, they'll kind of look at me funny and they'll be like, Udom, you really, Dr. Udom, you are small now. And so
Yeah.
that shit fucks with me constantly. Like that's why I usually go with the cozy shit first and foremost, because it's easy for me to buy clothes and pick clothes, and my brain doesn't play a lot of game tricks on me that way. And then
I
let's see,
noticed that I didn't realize that was the reason, but I noticed that when you spent some time with me when we first met, I noticed that why is this person wearing all these big clothes? In my mind, I didn't know that that was the reason. Wow,
I
thank you
like
so
to
much
be cozy first and
no, no,
foremost.
no, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, obviously, we didn't talk about it, but hearing what it took to get there makes
Hmm.
me understand now. Oh wow,
Yeah. And
thank you.
then the gender dysmorphia part, I've had this come up multiple times. Like I said, like being a shapeshifter and being able to be a chameleon, or channel all of these different ancestors. I've had, the usual, like, oh, are you a man or a woman? At least, 3 times a week. Like that's regular, whether Uber drivers, random ass strangers, and I just kind of like shrug it off. But it's the more personal interactions where people will be fearful or scared because they tell me that um, I've shifted into somebody else. Like they're like, they see when I meet them, I'm, a feminine person. And then they're like, oh, snap, like you shifted into, they saw me as a man or whatever. And then now they're going through like this weird situation where like, oh man, you turn into a man and I'm so attracted to you. What does this mean about me? So I get that also a lot. And so those are my two experiences with body dysmorphia and gender dysmorphia. And it happens often for me, but I understand that that's who I am. Like that is the they, them, the it, the vessel. I am this human figure, and I have the ability to bring things out or activate people or channel people, whatever you want to call it. And so I've learned that I got to be okay with that, and that's where my healing practices and self-care things come in, because it will fuck with you. It will
Yeah,
fuck with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that makes so much sense why non-binary is a place to begin. I now realize that most people who I speak to who are non-binary, that's just a place to begin. It's not quite the place that they eventually will be, but many of them is like I just don't have any other place to go. So I'm just going to go with non-binary for now. I don't know if that's your experience, but it sounds to me like two spirits is even in there for you, because that's what I'm hearing coming out. Just like you have multiple, even maybe more than two, and as opposed to somebody thinking like they will have called you a witch and burnt you at the stakes, easily, in the days of, those days. But this is to show us today that this has always existed. I met someone over the weekend who told me that when they were 5 years old, they knew they were polyamorous. That blew my mind.
Oh wow.
But I completely forgot that my own quote came back at me to sting me, because I always say every out queer adult was once a queer child hiding in plain sight. Yes, that includes the polyamorous people. Like, but she was like, yeah, when I was 5, I knew I liked what, and she was like, and then when I was 11, it really kicked into gear. And I was like, wow, but she's right, because you don't just grow up and just become polyamorous like overnight. Like, you've been seeing it and kind of been wondering what it is and wondering what is it, and then society attacks you. Then of course you shrink deep in and you don't express it more. Wow. We have 9 minutes to go. Doc, where can people find you, follow you, support you, hear you? Because I know you do a lot of open mics when you were, I know when you were in Atlanta, you did a couple. And where you
Yeah.
live, the Maryland area, you do some also, don't you?
I'm in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. So I'm bouncing around at Bus Boys or other. I'll be at Art All Night coming up next week. I have my own practice. So you can follow me on Instagram at dr_dr_dee, where you can find more information about where my practice is. I do pop-ups and outdoor therapy and partner with other local organizations in the area. So like today, we had a soul nap, which is a soul collective, Sunny Therapeutics, and other healers and practitioners coming together to rest, because this work that we do is ongoing. And so we want to come and
Yes.
rejuvenate each other. And we were taking naps and journaling, and there were sound bowls. We were grounding in nature, and I was taking pictures of the trees and talking to ancestors. So it was beautiful. But I do things like that all the time. And not only in the DMV, but also, you can invite me to your town, to your city. That would be fun too. And then I'm also on Facebook at Sunny Therapeutics. And then I also started a nonprofit 501(c) called the Ufanima Institute. You can also find that on Facebook.
Oh wow. Like, for me, who is a tree hugger, I'm there all day. I love trees so much, which is why when I went to Savannah, Georgia, I cried for the first hour when I was leaving, because the trees in Savannah is next level, y'all. And I just love trees. So I don't think I'm ever going to move out of Georgia, period. And no matter how homophobic they get, because it is a tree loving land. So yes, from one tree lover to the other. And we're having an event coming up in November. Maybe you can come and share some of your wisdom with the parents that are going to be there, Doc, because I
We
know you
could
could.
use some Zen. We
Yeah,
could
we
use
can use
some
a
Zen.
whole lot of sound bowls and all the things, like all the things. What about the soul napping, ladies? I mean, hello, that would be good for us. What y'all think for the Mama Beast? Yes.
Drumming.
Yeah.
Are y'all frozen? Oh no.
I'm
No.
about the drumming.
Yes,
That
the
is
drums.
yeah.
Yes, the drums. Oh my God. Wow. Do y'all have any questions? Let me see what's happening on Instagram.
I'm trying to think. I think that everything that you all discussed was exactly some of the things that I was thinking of. But yes, you live in a DMV, Dr. Udom. I used to teach in PG County, so yeah,
That's
busboys
my
and poets,
hood.
busboys and
Bus
poets.
Boys on
Favorite.
U Street. Bus Boys on U Street. That's my jam right
My
there.
favorite. Hmm.
Yes. Wow.
My favorite.
Can I share with y'all the poem?
Yes.
Yes.
Please.
Please.
I was like, I don't know which one I want to leave y'all with, but I've enjoyed myself. So I'm going to share this poem called Laughter, because in addition to writing, journaling, dancing, poetry, I love to laugh. Like, I love watching comedians, because I'm like, laughing keeps me from crying most days and has saved my life a couple times. So I'm gonna share this poem. All right. With laughter, does anything else matter? We can literally shatter those walls that keep us from standing tall. You in a rut, that's cool, but let me take you to school. Laughter is the medicine. Heaven sent, especially in this time when systems are hell bent to send us to our graves early. It makes me rather squirrely, where retirement is the goal, but few attain it. Instead, you spend fighting time, diseases, and illnesses that lay dormant for too long until a break, until a shake, until a wake up call. Y'all, this world is so small in comparison to the beauty that is unseen. You know what I mean? Don't you remember you heaven sent? I spent too much of my life hiding, and I'm not about to contain the jokes just because they yoke you up. My cup is filled with love, and the greatest comedian of all has blessed us with so much laughter. I pray you go after. Sit in it, get cozy with the joy. You can even grab all your guns and toys. Laugh until you pee your pants. You can get a new one. Laugh until what made you cry facilitates the shy to go away. Hey, remember that you divine and everything is going to be just fine. Uto poem.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
So
Thank y'all
happy.
for having me. This was
No,
fun.
thank you for coming. Thank
Where's
you
your
for coming.
poetry book? Did you write a poetry book yet?
I do. I am writing a poetry. We're actually writing a textbook, which is about implicit bias in physical therapy and the effect on Black and Indigenous healers in the world. And that is being being published right now. And that's called Liberation Through Practice. And then in there, I have my poetry, and I'm also writing a separate poetry journal for clinicians and healers who are in school and need to remember who the fuck they are as they are doing the thing. So that's coming
Ooh, I
soon.
get that from my Matthew. Good. Yes.
I'll keep y'all posted.
Well, let me know what's the website. Is it Liberation Journal, you said?
Yep. So just if you stay on my Instagram,
Oh,
and then my link tree is linked to that.
Yeah.
So it's also link tree, whatever all those numbers are. Dr. D.
yeah.
Is your poem, is that poem that you read in Linktree, Dr. Udom?
It is on my Substack. So some of my poems and performances and things like that, it's in my Substack, which is also linked to my link tree.
Okay.
So everything is in the link tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah, I try to keep it.
If you haven't heard them yet, they're asking you to go to their Instagram and check out their link tree. Everything is on the
Everything
link
is there.
Thank y'all so much, all three of you, really, for just holding me up today, because I really, truly, I was tired. I had 2 workshops back to back yesterday, and both of them were 75 minutes each, and then one long workshop the day before that. So I really wanted to come home and just lay down and just do nothing. And I said, I know if I lay on my bed,
It's
I will
over.
not wake
It's
up.
over.
Yes, so I'm so glad I didn't. And thank y'all. So usually after the
We're
show,
glad
I
you
do-
didn't too.
Yeah. Dr. Udom, oh my God, you know how I feel about you. Thank you so much, my friend, my lover,
No.
my everything. Just I'm so glad that the universe thought. I mean, I know she likes to play tricks, but when you walked up to me, I said, wait, another Nigerian who's queer? I was like, yes, yes. And so we found each other, which was so beautiful. So I want to reproduce that. I want to find other queer Nigerians in Atlanta, and I'm going to do it because why
Yeah.
not? So, but I thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Kimmy. Thank you for holding space. Thank you, all the queer folks out there who yourselves. And let me tell you, you do not have to invite anyone in. And I like the phrase you used. You said coming into. You don't have to let anybody come into your space. You don't have to do that. You know who you are. You are just enough. The pastor that gave the sermon today talked about something, said, we might not get picked, but we are chosen. And we were like, what? And he was talking about how we all have experienced going to school, being, maybe trying to play a game, maybe a basketball game or whatever the kids are picking, and then you're not getting picked. And all the things, and then maybe your friends or nobody's playing with you at the lunchroom, or all the things, all the ways that you have not been picked. He said, remember, you can always pick yourself. You can pick yourself, and that's it. So I want to leave you all with that message today. You can pick yourself when no one else picks you. Look in the mirror and love who you see. And that's one of the messages they gave us. It said, every morning when you wake up, say, I love you to yourself in the mirror. I did that this morning. I was like, oh, yeah, that was weird. But I did it, though. I did it. And so I did it, and I laughed, and I shared the laughter with myself. And I was like, you know what? You are your own self best friend. You're the love of your life. And so if you could tell a stranger you love them, tell yourself you love you. So hopefully you heard that. Peace, love, and soul to y'all. Instagram already disconnected. They don't waste time. But thank you all so much for coming on this show. This was amazing. We'll see y'all next Sunday. The show is called Moms, the number 4 Trans Kids. And yes, y'all, we have merch. Stay tuned for the links to go get the merch because it is happening. Ellen is not playing. Ellen, I needed you. This show needed you so much because you definitely came and put the oomph. You're not playing with.
You're like, let's do this.
Yes.
Sharing what it looks like.
Well,
yes.
You and Kim have y'all have held it down. So I'm just trying to come in and get to where y'all at.
Oh.
No, you're filling in the blanks, Ellen. You're filling in the
I'm
blanks.
so glad. I'm glad that it is all forming together so wonderfully.
Yes, I cannot wait for a group hug. So let's do a virtual group hug and let Dr. Udom go about her. They're like,
and the haircut looks great, by the way. I love it.
Yeah, right? You're killing it. Whatever.
All right, bye, y'all. Thank you.
I'll
Bye.
send you the link, Dr. Udom. Yes, and just like that, they were 3.
They're in and out.
That was good. Let me
Just like that, there were 3.
And then there were 3. Let me end the show. So y'all, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you all next Sunday. Remember to share the show. If you have anyone that you think will learn or will need it, share it with them. Tell them about the event that we have coming up in November 15th. If you live in Atlanta, you get to meet the 3 Mama Beasts. This is going to be awesome.
It's awesome. And my friend is going to sign up. She hasn't already, but she's going to sign up today.
No problem.
So, she's a trans niece. So she's super excited. And I haven't seen her. She used to live out here in Los Angeles, but her roots are all in Atlanta. And I haven't seen her in forever. So it'll be really cool.
It'll be beyond cool. And then we have our first vendor inquiry. Somebody was
it says you're still live, just so you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
Okay. All right. Well, so y'all know what all we're doing.
So y'all just listen in if you like. But yeah, I am so excited. I can't wait. Let me end the live. Peace out, y'all. Everyone who's listening in, you're trying to hear what we're saying.
Yeah. We're all our great stuff.